Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another chapter read of 50 Years in Polygamy. I don't know yet how this chapter is going to be, but based on the last chapter, what I'm going to start to do is on the thumbnail, there will be something that says may trigger, something along those lines to alert you all to the fact that there may be something discussed within the chapter that may be triggering, especially based off of what we read in the last one. I want to make sure that I'm thinking of that and I'm keeping that in mind so that no one is caught off guard. I have my tissues here just in case, because that other thing caught me off guard. And I have a feeling, seeing as to how we left off with her in like elementary school age, that we're probably going to experience some other things, unfortunately, that may invoke certain emotions. But I'll try my best to read through them. If you all need to not watch the video, I completely understand. I just want to make sure that I'm letting you all know what that means when you see that on the thumbnail. Hopefully we won't have too many of those thumbnails, but I got to put that out there. So this is chapter 5, Plagueville is the title, and it's years 1957 to 1959. My stepbrother Rick acted like my best friend. Okay, she said acted. Y'all, I just have a feeling. Okay. At least most of the time. He played all kinds of games with me. Cowboys and Indians, No Bears Are Out Tonight, and tag. I never heard of No Bears Out Tonight. Sometimes he'd hold my hand and stick up for me when some of my cousins called me snot-nosed, chubby, or fatso. My brothers, on the other hand, couldn't stand him most of the time. Having to share a room with Rick often felt like a curse to them, since they considered him a spoiled, rotten brat. They were often angry with Aunt Marianne because no matter how irritating or tormenting Rick was, she always took his side. Kids like this are extremely problematic, especially if you're always taking their side because they feel like they can get away with anything. To try to get her to defend him or listen to the truth was hopeless, so they'd fight instead. Marianne would clobber them with her fist or whatever object she would find. Okay, so here we have some child abuse, and I guess it's okay because they were, fighting her son. During those battles, my heart would pound so hard and fast, I thought it might pop through the top of my head. "Stop hitting Luke, stop it," I screamed at her over and over again. Sometimes I wrapped myself around his legs, clinging to her thick polyester knit pants. I'd smack her legs and bottom, wherever my arms could reach, to stop her from forcing my brothers out the door. But to her, I was nothing more than an irritation to slap off her legs like a pesky fly. So wait a second. The kids are fighting this lady too? What is going on here? I never knew when or if my brothers would return home again, and Marianne seemed to be proud of the fact that she won every encounter. This is problematic on so many levels, but we're going to continue to read. Her harshness toward my brothers and her random kindness to me made me feel guilty and responsible for their heartaches, a soreness I could never resolve. James would hug me and say, "Don't worry, Sophia. She hates you too." What? She just pretends to like us so mom and dad will be happy. But we both know by the way she treats us that she doesn't like us at all. Aunt Marianne left her kids, James and me, home with Rick quite often. On one of those forsaken days, while the other kids were off somewhere playing or sleeping, Rick coaxed me into the bathroom. I can tell already, I'm not going to like Rick. "We're going to play a game where you have to be real quiet. You can't make one sound," he told me. "If you do, we'll get in big trouble." Rick told me I had to pull my dress up over my head so I couldn't see where he was. Not blindfold yourself with something, not cover your eyes, not hide and seek, but you have to pull up your dress. Y'all, this is about to be another chapter. Then I should lie down on the floor by the tub and hold real still. I don't like this game. Let's play another game, I pled. My soul knew none of that felt right, but I fear he wouldn't love me or be my friend anymore if I didn't concede. Still, I begged him, please, Rick, please, let's play something else. Come on, Sophia, this will be fun. Just keep your eyes shut, be quiet, and you'll see. You're my very best friend, and I'm your very best friend forever, remember? Soon, Rick's body was on top of me. I wiggled and pushed on his chest to get out from under him. Come on, Sophia, hold still and be real quiet, he said. This is a quiet game. I felt him push something long and sticky between my thighs. With his legs on the outside of mine, he pushed mine together so hard I could feel this nasty thing press against my pubic bone. Again, I tried to push him away from me. Sophia, be a good girl and let me do this. I'll be really nice to you if you'll be nice to me. I'll even buy you a candy bar the next time I go to the store. This is freaking horrific. So not only was she violated at the young age of 5, but here she is getting violated again by her stepbrother. So first the doctor, now her stepbrother. Imagine how unsafe this child felt at the time. I held still. Rick made his body go up and down on top of me and started breathing really hard. I got so scared I started to cry, but he didn't stop. A few minutes later, I heard him growl like a bear, and then his whole body weight sank on me. I couldn't breathe. When he finally climbed off of me, I opened my eyes. Through the thin skirt over my head, I saw him pull his jeans up over his naked bum. Okay, Sophia, I heard his zipper roll up. You were a really good girl. You can open your eyes after I go out and shut the door. Then he stopped abruptly. You better not tell anyone about our game or we'll both get in trouble. That boy did that before. To tell that little girl to cover up her face as he assaulted her, he's done that before. Like covering her face made it any better. When I stood up to pull my dress down, a whole lot of sticky, gooey stuff ran down my legs. Trying to wash it off my legs made me nauseous, and I wondered how and why Rick put snot all over me. She, at that young age, did not even realize what he did and what was on her. This is one of the reasons why, y'all, I'm not trying to stay on this. This is one of the reasons why predators are able to do what they do, because kids are unaware and they take advantage of the naive nature of children, and they find cracks and they just dig right in those cracks. This breaks my heart for this little girl because her innocence was taken away on more times than I could even imagine already in this book. And when things like that happen to you, it is life-changing. It changes a lot of things. And it just breaks my heart for her. It really does. Mom was nearly a licensed practical nurse, but she never dared get a driver's license. During her working and school days, my siblings and I got to ride with Dad to take or retrieve her. When we went to pick her up, Dad would stop the car in the parking lot. James, Shane, and I would stare at the door to the school or the hospital, hoping to be the first one to see our mother. There she is, we'd scream. Those, it seemed, were the only times we got to see her in the car. Mom would smile, give us big hugs, and tell us she was sorry she was so busy at work with her studies that she couldn't be with us anymore. And then she'd ask the horrible questions. Are you being good kids? And of course, she was programmed on different occasions to feel like if she told what was going on, then she would be a bad kid. I'd get quiet, keep my eyes dry, and never answer out loud. Am I? I'd ask myself. It doesn't feel like it anymore. Rick offered to tend me more and more. Marianne would dress up and head out. Sometimes she'd take her girls, Jolie and Melanie, with her. I tried to hide or get away, but Rick always found me. To cheer me, he bribed me with more money or candy. Then he'd make me go into the bathroom with him again. After a while, Rick started making me take my panties off and watch while he stood above me going up and down on his penis. Even when he saw tears well up in my eyes, he wouldn't stop. As with all self-seeking perpetrators, his gratification was more important than I was. That's so true. I'll try not to hurt you, Sophia. I'll be real careful because I love you, he whispered. Then he'd be on top of me again. I learned real fast fighting or begging him to quit only infuriated him. Stop fighting, Sophia. I would have bit the... I'm not blaming this child at all. I've been through some things in my life too. And this right here, I'm glad I know what I know now. And I was able to have certain discussions with my child. Because you talk about he would have been in pain and he would have went to the hospital and had to let them know, knowing what I know now, let them know what happened. Y'all, as parents, we have to make sure that we are educating our kids. We're having the tough talks with them. I was talking with my child about certain things, and some of you may feel like I'm wrong for it, but as early as 3. Because I did not want the cycle that had gone on in my family from generation to generation to continue. And a lot of times it's the people closest to you that are the predators. We see it all the time when stuff comes out. It's family members. And here we have a family member who's violating her over and over and over again and so easily getting away with it. Stop fighting, Sophia. You know you are in on this too. If you ever tell anyone and get me in trouble, I will hate you. I have to beat you up and hurt you really bad. Then he'd calm down. I don't want to have to hurt you, Sophia, because I love you. You know I do, don't you? Like a petrified log, I wouldn't move. When he'd finish and shut the door behind him, I'd pull myself up next to the toilet and vomit. Tears would stream down my face as I washed myself over and over again. Sometimes I stay in the bathroom for a long time, staring at my pathetic face in the mirror and wishing I could disappear. No, baby, you're not pathetic. After several months, Rick and I hardly ever saw each other outside of the bathroom. His plans no longer included me unless it was to serve one purpose. I couldn't look at him anymore, no matter where he was. I hated his guts. However, my wishes in front of the bathroom mirror came to my rescue. Whenever Rick molested me, I imagined I was as high as the tallest tree on top of my tall, lanky father's shoulders. He charged around the yard like a prancing horse. I'd raise my shimmering purple wand toward the sky and shout, "Now I'm a princess. Take me to my beautiful white castle in the sky." And then Dad would turn into a magnificent white unicorn and we would fly into the white fluffy clouds. I am more brave and strong than any girl in the world, I proclaim. In my castle, way up here in heaven, no one can call me names or touch me. Up here, I'm in charge and safe and not in our bathroom. She has a picture here. It says, my own description of wanting to fly away. This was at age 7. It says anything can happen on a spring day when I can jump a mile high, the trees, and run away. And I don't know if y'all could see. You see the up. Even if I saw this as a parent, this right here would concern me. My mother's words reverberated in my head. She was always reminding us to be good kids so God would protect us and keep us from harm and danger. For as long as I can remember, our daily prayers included those words. Always do what is right and be obedient, Mother would say. If you're not good, God won't protect you. Harm and evil will befall you. Every day, I questioned why God had concluded I, Sophia Allred, was such a bad person. I deserved to be punished. Maybe I suspected was why he wouldn't let Francine come and take me home with her. That was a weird something. Maybe I suspected was why. No, that's what it says. More often than not, I assumed I was a dreadful little girl. In the quiet, dark, lonely nights, when I hid under my covers from the devil's imps and the boogeyman that were always after me, someone deep inside of me would lull me to sleep. That's not true, Sophia. You're not a dreadful child. It never was true. I'd hear the soft, kind voice repeat, you are a good girl and God loves you. On other nights, Jolie, Melanie, and I would sneak huge scoops of peanut butter from the kitchen and lick the delectable stuff like a lollipop. We'd hide the spoons under our double bed and ditch them in the mornings. We'd jump on the bed until our heads scraped the ceiling and laugh until our guts ached. During those times together, it crossed my mind to tell Jolie about Rick's so-called horrible game. No. What a stupid, stupid thought, I'd tell myself. I'm a bad girl, and if she knew, she might tell Mother. For sure I'd get punished. There were no more cookies left after we ransacked the jar. There were never enough cookies. I piled on the pounds while Jolie and Melanie stayed as skinny as sticks. All I wanted to do was eat, eat, and eat. Her little coping mechanism. In the kitchen, I'd open up the cupboards and the fridge, searching for something to relieve my restlessness. Since Rick is Jolie's brother, she wouldn't believe me anyway. I remind myself every time I got tempted to tell her the deep, dark secret. I wish there had been a whole lot more food for me to eat. I have felt a whole lot better. I wonder if Rick did things to his sisters too. I just wonder. Maybe she'll tell us. I love summers, running, jumping, climbing trees, riding my brother's bike, playing in the ditch, and following my brother James whenever he let me. Those were glorious days. Then one day, I no longer had to fear Rick. My brother Shane's early years of polio had curled his toes under so much he was still having a hard time walking. After the surgeon had done more repair work on his feet, he got to recover in the living room on a hospital bed where he could always see the bathroom door. I pictured being able to run up to Shane's bed, jump on his chest, and tell him how much I loved him. I had begged him to stay there forever, even after his toes healed. You could make this your bedroom forever, I'd have pled with him. I wanted so much to tell him he was my guardian and my savior, but Shane could never know. The best part of the summer before second grade was Mom and Dad let James and me stay in Duchnese, Duchesne, with Francine for a few months. I was still terrified of the dark. The evil spirits and the ghosts continued to hide and wait to grab me from behind. They'd follow close behind every time I was alone. If I wanted to get up at night, I have to stand up on the bed, get balanced, then leap as far away from the bed or couch as I could possibly get so they wouldn't grab me and drag me under. There was definitely no way in heaven or hell I dared head outside alone to Francine's privy during the night. By morning, I'd be in total agony. One of those mornings when my bladder felt as if it would burst all over the house, Francine asked why I was doubled over in pain and crying. Ashamed to tell her why I avoided the dreaded trip to their outhouse, I tried to make other excuses. Without a word, My perceptive, ingenious sister saved my dignity and freed me from further terror and discomfort. She located a large metal mop bucket and an old rickety toilet seat. Then she told my brother and all her then she told my brother, all her kids and me, from now on everyone has to use this during the night and I'll empty it in the morning. While James and I were there, we went with Francine's family to Brother John Thomas' house. Francine said that the Thomas family had been in the group for a long time. All day long, the brood of Thomas kids, Francine kids, and James and I discovered childhood treasures and trinkets as we frolicked along the Thomas slice of land near the top of a volcanic cliff bank. While the adults visited for hours, we navigated and explored our surroundings like pirates on a new island. With the major exception of Mr. Thomas, I liked everyone in his family. At mealtime, whenever he looked at me, I felt lifeless and unresponsive, as if his venomous eyes and hands had ravaged my body. The rest of the evening was totally destroyed. I ached to get away from him. I couldn't eat, talk, or play anymore. With Mr. Thomas' eyes on me, I wanted to become invisible again. On the road back home, I told Francine I never wanted to be around that stinky man ever again. Later in our lives, the reasons for my feelings became clear. Every time James and I went to stay with Francine, it was a new adventure. Her husband was always moving her sister wife, who is Aunt Eleanor's daughter, Hannah, and their kids somewhere different. It seemed they relocated 2 or 3 times a year, but it never mattered to us where they lived. I loved staying with my sister so much. Going home was a miserable occasion. Each time before the dreaded trip back to Murray, I called Mom and begged her to let me live with my sister forever. Well, at least a year. And when Mom said no to that too, I begged for just a few more months or even another week. But she always made me go back home. Interesting that she made her go back home when she was away a lot trying to get her education in nursing. One summer, when James and I returned to Murray after staying with Francine, we saw a new home in our yard. Dad had built another house on top of the basement. I walked through the new rooms like a child in a mystical land, totally in awe of the space and the beauty. Dad, I thought, must be the richest man in the world. To me, he became the greatest king on earth when I found out the new house was for our mother. A few months later, when the house was completed, Mom moved upstairs and Aunt Marianne moved into Aunt Eleanor's newly painted little greenhouse I was born in. Aunt Eleanor and Dad repaired, painted, and carpeted our new basement before she moved in downstairs. Our kind-hearted mother was famous for letting everyone live with us. Her friend Marlene stayed in one of our 3 bedrooms while she went to nursing school with Mom. My 5 brothers shared the second room, and Mom let me sleep with her in her bed. Mom's night with Dad meant it was time for me to crash on the couch again. Sometime before I was born, one of my older, more affluent cousins began to rent the large Drab Murray Recreation Hall for the Owl Red group dances. The monthly dances were for everyone 12 years of age and older, unless it was Christmas time. Then everyone, including Santa Claus, was invited to attend the festivities. Our enormously fat, white-bearded Santa always plopped himself down in a huge easy chair right in the center of the stage and patiently listened to the wishes of at least 1 million polygamous children. Yeah, given how many kids they have, that is a lot of kids. While I waited a long line, my wishes kept changing or getting totally shamed into non-existence. I thought of the Christmases I could remember and realized this one wouldn't be any better than the last 5. Are we bad kids? I had asked my mom at the end of Christmas Day the previous year. Why doesn't Santa bring us anything? Doesn't he like us? You should be grateful you have a house and a roof over your head and you're not starving, she responded. I am grateful. I just don't understand why Aunt Eleanor's kids and Aunt Marianne's kids and all my cousins in our neighborhood get beautiful dolls, doll clothes, toys, and hair ribbons. Their brothers get cars, trains, and a lot of other stuff. So even though they're married in this family, the wives aren't looking out for each other because she's a part of the family. They're married to the same man, so shouldn't she be getting that as well? Shouldn't her kids at least get a gift? I don't know, Mom interrupted impatiently. Santa isn't always able to be fair, and we just can't afford to make up for the things he doesn't bring. I have to give your dad all my money so he can pay the bills and give the mothers grocery money. Wait a second. So she's giving the dad money for the bills and for groceries, and her kids don't get anything. What are the other mothers doing? We can barely get by, let alone have any money for gifts. Mom blinked back her tears. I'm sorry you don't have any toys or new clothes, Sophia, but we must be grateful for everything we have and glad for those who do have things. We shouldn't be selfish. Wanting things for ourselves will distract us from keeping the Spirit of the Lord with us. Then her voice perked up. You know what we have? You know what we have? Okay. You know what we do have to be grateful for? We have each other. Sorry, y'all, I was struggling with that. A quick hug and a kiss on the cheek, and Mom was back to reading while I quietly stepped into the bathroom to hide my jealous, shameful tears. So it was just as well I had a long wait in a long line before I could talk to Santa to change my stupid mind. What good would it have done to ask for a stupid new pair of tennis shoes or a stupid used bike? I determined I would ask Santa for the most important thing in the whole world. And since God hadn't helped me much in that matter, maybe Santa would. After all the children got to speak to Santa and he left, our parents would come alive. While they dance, laugh, and visit, the children would get going on a good run across the massive tiles by the stage and then slide as far as the hard soles of our Oxford shoes would take us. It was never far enough to me, so I try again and again and again to beat my last mark, as well as the mark of every child who dared to compete with me. After sliding until we were worn out, we sit and watch the adults until it was our turn to dance to the bunny hop, Pop Goes the Weasel, or a vigorous heart-pumping polka. I never got to dance to my heart's content. Pretty soon, Mom made me stop dancing and come sit next to her. She had that look on her face, the one that always made me wonder what was going on in her mind. What did I do or not do this time? I thought I had figured it out. I've been too rambunctious again. I just about plowed over a few smaller tykes while I was leaping across the dance floor to beat John Paul Jones. I'm sorry, Mom, I quickly said. I'll slow down and try to be. She smiled, leaned toward me, and whispered, Someone told me what you asked Santa to bring this year. It made me cry. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to hurt you. It's all right, my precious, she cut in. These are not sad tears, but happy tears. I felt a little embarrassed, but she pulled me closer. My good friend said you told Santa, since God wasn't helping much in this matter, maybe he could. He said you promised Santa you wouldn't ask him for anything ever again if he promised to bring your mother the gift of happiness. Oh, wow. I didn't think that's what she was going to say. I thought she was going to ask for her stepbrother to stop taking her in the bathroom. But she, even with everything that she'd been through, she just wanted her mom to be happy. Oh, my little darling Sophia, you are my gift of happiness. Don't you know how much I love you? My friend said you told him your mom is sad or mad all the time and all you want is for her to be happy. Crying, Mom pulled me onto her lap. I felt her warm breath on my cheek. While she whispered in my ear, she wiped away her tears with her hand. I am so, so sorry, Sophia. I've been mean, ornery, grouchy, depressed mom. I've treated you kids awful. That's not the kind of mother I wanted to be. I've let all my stress and worries make me behave really badly. I promise I'll make myself be happy. I'll smile more. I'll have so much to be grateful for. Long before the festivities would have normally ended, the music abruptly stopped and everyone was asked to gather in a close circle to hear an announcement. A priesthood bearer began to pray for safety, protection, and guidance for all of us. Someone said there were more threats against polygamous families. In the parking lot, faces carried fretful smiles, folks all around us spoke in quiet voices as they quickly exchanged hugs and encouragement as if they were being scrutinized and in danger. Godspeed, I'd hear. Another voice would say, "Where's Uncle Rulon? Anyone know? Don't worry, brother. God is watching over us. We're in his hands." Our splendid Christmas celebration ended in gloom that year. Once we were in Dad's car, Mom promised she'd always love me, no matter what happened to her or Dad. She said if anything were to happen, if they ever had to go away without me, I would go live with my sister Francine. Was I ever excited? I hoped Mom and Dad wouldn't have to go away together for a while. No, it says I hoped Mom and Dad would have to go away together for a while. All I ever wanted, it seemed, was to go live with Francine. And if Mom would go away with Dad, I thought it would make her happier. They might get to spend a lot of time together, hug and kiss and love and talk some more. I hardly ever saw them smooch, but when they did, my whole insides would jump for joy. After school one afternoon, I sat next to my mother and enjoyed the pictures as she turned the pages of her photo album. She said she couldn't find more than 5 or 6 pictures of me. I remember when Lucinda took this picture, Mom smiled. In the small black and white photograph, Lucinda's baby and I were sitting in a wagon just outside of the basement house. Holding her tiny hand out towards her mother, my niece looked like a princess. I looked unhappy and ready to jump. I told Mother I felt like a princess when I could stand on the car seat next to Dad. I put my left arm around his neck as he drove. I also remember when I was learning to walk, I paraded back and forth in our hallway to get an applause and cheers from everyone. I think I would have been close to a year old when I was standing in my crib, drinking the milk from my baby bottle as fast as I possibly could so I could get to the syrup from the bottom. Oh, and I remember when I heard Aunt Eleanor tell someone my sister was going to have a baby, and you got mad at me while I was telling everyone. My sister Hannah was William's second wife, which was why no one was supposed to have evidence of yet another plural marriage. Pregnancies were kept secret for eons, especially in the underage case. Shh, I have a secret. I have a baby, nice and kind and sweet as she. Shh, don't tell Sophia. Girls disappeared during pregnancy for many reasons. We were not supposed to tell people if someone was pregnant. Another great memory, I told her, was when an older woman handed me a baby doll, then lifted me onto her lap. She rocked back and forth with her arms wrapped around my tummy. I felt like I melted into a huge soft pillow. I wanted to stay there forever. I'm sure you're remembering Grandma Baumforth. She was one of my dad's wives and was really good to you kids, Mom said. Then, in a solemn voice, she told me, I'm glad you have such good memory of her because she died when you were only 4 years old. Your dad's mother died several years before you were born, and my mother died when you were barely 2, so you didn't get to know any of them. I always wished for a wonderful grandmother to love and care for me, but those memories of Grandma Baumforth started the ball rolling, and my mother wanted to hear more, so I told her. I guess I was close to 2 years old. I woke up in our dark basement and looked all over to find someone, but no one was home. I was so scared, and my bottom hurt so bad I could hardly walk. I cried until snot and tears dripped into my mouth. Then Francine came home. She gathered me in her arms, changed my diaper, powdered my blistered bottom, and dressed me in dry, warm clothes. After she got me some food, she walked all over the house and yard, then snuggled right next to me on the piano bench and let me bang out noises on Marianne's piano. Again, I told my mom how much I love Francine and how much I wish she could come home and live with us all the time, since Mom wouldn't let me go live with her. More tears welled up in Mom's eyes. No wonder you love her so much. She did love and care for you, didn't she? Then Mom shouted angrily, why in the world wasn't Marianne looking after you? She was supposed to be taking care of you kids while I was gone. Many years later, Francine told Mom it was always the same. It was common for her to find us kids screaming, hurting, hungry, and disheveled. Francine often talked Marianne into letting her skip school to take care of James and me. Marianne was grateful for Francine's offer. It freed her of her supposed commitment so she could be about her own daily agenda with her friends and her own children. My new friend Mary didn't know I was a plig kid like most of the other kids did, so she invited me to her birthday party with the other girls in my second grade class. I was super excited, but I didn't have a penny to my name, so I had no way to buy a gift. I doubt I ever asked my parents for anything. I really come to realize asking for anything was relatively pointless. The summer before, when I was hanging upside down on the monkey bars, my knees slipped and I landed on top of my head. I heard my skull crack against the blacktop. Goodness gracious. Though I was sick and dizzy with headaches the whole summer, I still didn't tell my parents or ask for help. But this time I wanted to go to the party and I had to take a gift. Wait a second, you cracked your skull, girl. You had a concussion. Those things can last for a long time in some people. Um, Mom's friend Marlene was nice to us from the day she moved in. She watched over us now and then if she had a different schedule than Mom, so I decided she'd be a safe person to ask for help. On Saturday, she took me to get a gift and then delivered me to Mary's parents' home. As soon as I stepped inside the enormous house, I realized our home, which I thought was so magnificent, was bare and ugly in comparison. Until then, I had no idea the interiors of those attractive, massive homes all around us were so beautiful. As my peers laugh and play, I felt ugly, awkward, and out of place. The whole time I was there, I wasn't sure what to do or how to act. This was my very first experience with children away from the elementary school outside of our culture and in such an elegant environment. After the party, just before Marlene picked me up, I told Mary thanks for inviting me and then invited her to my birthday party the following Saturday. All the way home, I wondered what made that big fat lie shoot right out of my mouth. And even worse, I didn't have a clue how I was going to get out of such a mess. What, with another fib? Then I figured it all out. The next day at school, I tell Marianne that my mother said I couldn't have a birthday party. My foolish predicament would be all done and over with. The following Saturday afternoon, when I walked in the door after a day of play, Marlene glared at me. Your little friend Marianne and her mother came by today with a gift for your birthday party. What on earth was that all about, Sophia? It isn't your birthday for months. I don't think there were any party plans either. I've forgotten to tell Mary Ann another lie to cover up the first one. Full of shame, I confessed my stupidity to Marlene. She forgave me but said it was Mary I should apologize to. She told me I had to ask Mary for forgiveness, but I was way too embarrassed and self-conscious. I had no idea what to tell her about my mistake. Mary and I never talked again, and for years I was full of remorse and shame. It wasn't until I joined a 12-step program many years later I learned to forgive my childlike mistakes. I was only a little girl begging for love and acceptance. In another insecure, vulnerable moment, I sought for approval that was never meant to be. I think Mom and her kids were the last in our neighborhood to get a black and white television. No matter we were only supposed to watch approved programs, we were more grateful than buzzers on dead carcasses to finally have a TV. I watched it sporadically. I was way too antsy to hold still long enough to finish anything. One afternoon, James, Shane, and I were watching Bugs Bunny narrowly escape being cooked for dinner by Witch Hazel while he was trying to save Hansel and Gretel. We heard the kitchen cupboard door slam shut and our mother yelling angrily. Soon she was sobbing. Why can't anyone clean up after themselves, she screamed. At least put the stinking food away. How can anyone stand to live in this pigsty? Her anger increased by second. I edged closer to the kitchen entry. I really wanted to give her a hug and tell her I was sorry I hadn't done the work. And I do it now if she wanted me to, but I knew if I went in that kitchen right then, I might get hit or screamed at. I'm sure my brothers felt the same way, but they inched their way in and told her they were sorry. What can we do to help you? They asked. If you really wanted to help, you would have long before I had to turn into a raging manic. Mom's bloodshot eyes and runny nose intensified her miserable, enraged appearance. The glass plate she slammed into the kitchen sink shattered into pieces, slicing the palm of her hand open. By then, tears were sliding down my cheeks. I felt ashamed of myself for not cleaning the kitchen and sad for my mother. When I'm older, I decided I'll do all the work for her. Then she'll never have to be sad or angry again. And that is the end of chapter 5. She is really giving us like vivid images of the things that are going on in this household and all the mess that's going on around her, and even the mess that's going on with her mother and how she's acting out in a terrible way towards her kids. And it just seems like this family that was bursting at the seams, and there's so many things that were being done that weren't right. And here we are. She's only around 7 at this point. It's crazy. Y'all, let me know what you think down below. Please like the video. It does help the channel. Until next time.